Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Salty Roots. It's Joe. I have so much going on in the fish room today. Putting a UV on this 125 over here. I have a new fish that I'll show you later in the quarantine tank that will eventually go into the fish only tank. So lots to look forward to in upcoming videos, but that's not the point of today's video. Today what I'm going to do is show you how I built this water changing station. Check this out. Kylie and I went and visited a new plant store here in Fishers. It's called Snake Root off of 116th. If you're local, go check it out. We really enjoyed it. But because I got to tag along, lots of stuff Kylie wanted, all we actually came out with was a Venus flytrap. Is that cool or what? So Venus flytraps love a humid environment. Fish room was a no-brainer with all my tanks and heaters going. It's thriving here on the shelf in a cool little addition. So there's tons of advantages of having a water station in your home if you have the space to do so. Obviously not all of us have that luxury, but it is really nice if you can do it. You can do your water changes so much easier. You save a ton of money by making your own salt water, and the list goes on and on. So this is the design I came up with. There's tons of designs. All you have to do is Google saltwater station DIY, water changing station, just whatever, something like that, and you'll see tons of designs. I picked this one because it's a really straightforward and simple design, which is of course always what I'm going to choose, as long as it's effective, and this certainly is. Lots of valves and unions there. The valves of course help me direct the water in the direction I want it to go, and then the unions are just, the unions enable me to take it apart in sections, as opposed to if something goes wrong having to take the entire piping out. I can just take that section out by using as many unions as I can fit. Same philosophy with my plumbing on my tanks. So this is what I came up with. These tubs are somewhere in the ballpark of 30, it might be 29 gallon, 30 gallon tubs from Menards. They're heavy duty Rubbermaid brand. What you want to do is check the bottom. There's a little recycling number. I can't recall off the top of my head what number you're looking for, but just Google that as well. There's a number that's, actually there's quite a few numbers that are food grade safe and are going to be good for making your own water. So make sure they were good to go, and they were. And so put this together. I first drilled a couple of holes to run the piping into the tubs. Just use a normal hole drill bit there, and then got these rubber bulkheads. They're actually called Uniseals, and they're on bulk resupply, very cheap. Really easy to use. They pop right into the holes that you drill, and then your pipes slide in. It's a little difficult to get them in there, but of course you want that nice tight seal so it doesn't leak. But they work really well, and they're only like $1 or $2. So got those holes drilled, and as you can see, I have 2 tubs, of course, RODI and salt water, and then the water can easily just come straight out. Turn this valve here and have the water fill up one of these tubs, just a normal 5 gallon bucket, whatever I need at the time. So that's just the most straightforward operation, is it just comes straight out. Outside of that, I will show you a little bit more in depth on how I actually put it together. The components will also go into the RODI, and also the actual source of the water in the first place. So before I get into the actual process of how I put this together, I do want to go over the source of my actual water. And just quick disclaimer, I want to say I'm not recommending you do this at home. This is just what I decided to do at my house. It's not going to be up to code, and I will have to fix this if we put the house up for sale. But essentially what we did was I had a general contractor, when I say we, come in and help me tap into our actual main water line. And as you can see, put one of these shark bites in to then tee off water to a couple of valves. And so the advantage of teeing it off is I then am able to put in a one of these utility sinks, which if you've had a fish tank for any time, the advantage of having a utility sink. And then it's right next to my actual sump pump, which is down in that corner, kind of hard to see. But of course, if you have a sink, you have to have a place to drain the water. I'm not running this constantly. When I can, I try to run as much water upstairs and outside, just because I don't want tons and tons of water going down into that pump, especially when it's salt water. It's going to wear the pump out over time, which is just gonna have to take that into consideration. The other option is running the drain into your main piping, which is just going to be way more time, effort, and money than I wanted to spend on this. So anyway, I have a utility sink here that does come in handy, and then the other tee goes into my RODI station. So when I'm ready to make water, I have this 5-stage bulk reef supply RODI system, and all I have to do is turn this valve here, and it'll start making the RODI. The RODI then comes into this first bin here through this hole, and I did choose to do the smart thing and put a float valve in here. Now, I say that after I've had 2 or 3 floods. I think we all do that at some point or another. So I finally bit the bullet, got the whopping $11 float valve that has saved so much time and so many messes, and I can't recommend this enough. Get the float valve. It's super easy to install, literally within 5 minutes, and it'll save you a lot of messes. So anyway, it comes in there, it fills up, it's 75 gallons per day, so not the fastest, but it does just fine for me. Fills up this tub, and so once this is full of RODI and I want to get it over here to start mixing salt water, all I have to do is turn the valves appropriately. Obviously, I don't want the water coming out of the main drain here, so I'll have that off. I'll have this one open. I don't want it shooting into the bottom of the bin. Rather, I want it to come this way. I would open this valve, and then it would start pouring into the salt water. Once I have this as full as I would like, I'm going to close this valve. I'm going to open this valve, and that way I have the water being pulled out of this bin, coming up here, and then circling back in. So that way I'm just constantly mixing the salt water. Inside of this bin, speaking of mixing the salt water, as you can see, I teed it off at the bottom and put a couple of, one's a 45 and one's a 90-degree angle, but the point is, it shoots the water out in a circular motion. So it's circulating and mixing there in that way, and then it comes out of, the pump pulls it out of this straight tube here, and the process happens all over again. So it's coming in, it's spinning at the bottom, it's being sucked out, and just constantly mixing the salt water, which mixes it that much faster. In terms of the actual pump, it's just a C-Chase small pump, and I actually have it plugged into one of these remote electrical outlets through Amazon. They're like 10 bucks. And then you have the actual remote that you can turn on and off as needed. Just looking for the remote. So it looks like this. Whenever I want to turn that pump on to do whatever, any one of those things I just discussed, on, off, that simple. And then one of my favorite parts is the actual piping coming out of the back. If I shut all of the valves off and just have the water pumping, say, turn this one on, that's off and that's open. So pump salt water through here, out the back into my food grade safe hose. This is an RV hose technically, bought from Cabela's, and so it's food safe and going to be safe for your reef tank. And so that way I can unwrap that hose and do my water changes very easily on any of these tanks right here in the same room without bugging buckets around the room. So that's one of my favorite features of the station. Again, very easy to install with just some T's, some unions, and then just one of these fittings here that has threads on the outside of it. So you glue it into the piping, have the threads, and then you screw on your hose. Very, very simple. But that is the water station. Like I keep saying, really enjoy it. Cool place to put your stickers and collect those as well. And let me know if you have any questions on this build. But so far, like I said, it's been a few years and it has worked really well.
Ain't on the guest list, still came through. These are just some things I do. Just some things I do. Just some things I do.